Hey you guys, my name is Alan, and today I am going to be discussing how to um, format your MLA paper. Okay, first thing first, we want to make sure that everything in our settings is correct. So we want to make sure that our font is Times New Roman size 12, and we want to make sure we clicking on the home tab to see this. And we also want to make sure that we go into the paragraph section on the home tab and make sure that our lines are double spaced and our lines are double spaced and make sure that the first indentation on every paragraph is zero point 0.5. You can do that by doing it that way or when you start writing your paper. I'll get into that later. But secondly, we want to make sure that so a lot of people don't know how to insert a head and footer. So I always tell them go on the search bar right there in Word and type in head and footer. So you want to make sure you pick the page number one and type your last name on in it and make sure it is to the right of the paper. So at the head of your paper should be your last name and number one. So once you do that, you want to go ahead on and give your paper a heading section. You want to make sure you write your full name, the name of um, the course, the professor, and the date. Some people don't want you to write the professor. Some people just want you to write your name, the course, and the date. Once you do that, this all has to be double spaced. You want to go down a line and you want to make sure you write the title of your paper, and that has to be centered. And it has to be Times New Roman 12 font. Then you want to make sure that you are now in your introduction of your paper. This is the beginning of your paper. It should be indented. And the first thing you want to make sure you write is a hook. A hook is something that draws the reader into your paper. It draws them into the thesis statement. The thesis statement is what the rest of the paper is going to run off of. And the thesis statement cannot be broad. It has to be specific with three main ideas. Those three main ideas need to be stated in the thesis statement, and the thesis statement needs to be in the introduction, followed before hook. So a hook could be something to just a quick statement to draw the reader in. Once I get my thesis statement, I can now look at the body of my paper. The body of my paper will have those three main ideas. Each main idea has to have at least three supporting details. You want to make sure that you are supporting evidence with what you say, and that is called citation. And you want to make sure you correctly cite each time you use something someone said or to back up what you are saying. And those are three main ideas you do that in. So in each part of your thesis should have three main ideas that will make up the body of the paper. So it's the introduction, then my body contains the three main ideas that I said in my thesis statement in my introduction, that I'm going to use at least three supporting details or evidence to support why I said that thesis statement or what this means. So that will be my body. So in each paragraph, you want to make sure you are indenting by zero point 0.5. And you can do that by clicking on the first beginning of the first letter of that paragraph with the right side of the mouse. And you can scroll down to paragraph and you can go and you can select first hanging line. And you want to make sure you click that and it automatically has 3.5 and you press OK. And it makes an indent every time you make a paragraph. It automatically is going to indent. But if you have to do it manually, you can do it that way. And also, okay, so once you get your introduction, once you have formatted your paper correctly in the right size font, you want a conclusion. A conclusion is just a summary or the universal idea of what that paper meant or a lesson learned. So in the conclusion, people always let you know what they learned, or they always answer a certain type of question depending on what type of paper it was. So you don't never want to leave out that your thesis statement. So you're basically reiterating the thesis statement, and you're summarizing it. Versus when you're on the introduction, you're introducing it to people. Here's where you're closing it off. So once you have gotten your introduction, your body, and your conclusion, you want to make sure from the first paragraph all the way to the last letter and the conclusion, you select it and you go back to the home screen and you make sure the paper is justified. That means it's smooth on all edges. It shouldn't be any crookedness and all of that. It makes your paper look really neat. So once you do that, you justify your paper. And I see a lot of times people put their works cited, like if they have a last paragraph on one paper, they'll put their work. No, your works cited has to be its own page, and it has to be centered and double spaced. So you have to, the same way you would put double space on the beginning up there on the home screen, you can select your works cited, you can center it, and you can double space it. Yes, make sure it's double spaced. So that is how you write a MLA formatted paper. We're going to have a header footer with the number all the way to the right. So my last name is Burton. My first page says Burton 1. When I go to the next page, it says Burton 2. We want to make sure we have our name, course, and date on the left-hand side of the paper. Then we want to make sure under that we have our title centered, Times New Roman 12, and not no bold big thing. Then we want to make sure each paragraph is indented 0.5. We want to make sure that we have a thesis in our introduction as well as a hook to draw the reader into our thesis. What the paper is going to be about. We want to take the three main ideas in our thesis and have at least three supporting details and evidence to make up our body. We ended off with a conclusion. Thank you.